The friendly flyer. Floyd really wanted to learn how to fly, but he was really scared. His friends George and Johnny never stopped cheering him on. "You can do it! Don't give up!" they called out. But no matter how hard he flapped his wings, he just couldn't stay in the air. Instead of flying, poor Floyd landed back on the ground with a great big doo. "Don't give up, Floyd. Just keep trying," George and Johnny said again. "Practice and passions are what you need to become a great flyer," said George. Floyd looked at his friends doubtfully and drooped his elbow. "Maybe if you had a strong lift off, you could manage to stay up in the air," Johnny suggested. Suddenly George had an idea. "I'll throw you up in the air when I will let you go. You flap your wings as fast as you can," he suggested. Floyd reluctantly agreed to try the plan. "Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, lift off," George cried. Only Floyd was in the air and began to push his wings up and down fast as he could. Soon he felt himself going higher and higher. "I did it! I'm flying!" he yelled excitedly. "It just goes to show that once you set up your mind on something, you can do anything," said George. Floyd flew in circles above his friends and smiled. "Thanks for believing in me," he said to George and Johnny. "We knew you could do it," answered Johnny. Hide and seek seahorse. Sheila was a very stubborn little seahorse. She loved to explore and play games in the sea. Only Sheila and her seahorse friends played together, and they always played the same games. One day, another little seahorse suggested that anyone play hide and seek. Sheila thought that was a great idea because she knew the perfect place to hide. As she waited quietly in her secret spot, she felt something tap in her fin. Sheila turned around and was very surprised to see a green-yellow eel. "Are you trying to help the others find me?" she asked. "Of course not," replied the eel. "I was just wondering if I could play with you." Sheila looked at the eel carefully. "I don't think so," she said. "This game is for me and my friends only. It's always been like that." The confident eel swam over to a sponge plant. "But look," he said, "I can hide almost anywhere. I'll be really good at this game." "Nope, sorry," answered Sheila. She didn't want to admit how impressed she was with this hiding place. "But look how well I blend into the squirrel," the eel said. "That's pretty good," replied Sheila. "Well, you're very well clever eel," Sheila admitted. "I think the game would be really fun if you played with us." The eel smiled happily. "Follow me, I will introduce you to everyone," Sheila said. Sheila and her new friend swam over to the others, who were very surprised to see an eel. "Wait until you see where he can hide. He is really good," said Sheila. From that day on, all the sea animals were welcome to play hide and seek with the seahorses. Marvin and the tall trees. One warm and sunny afternoon, Marvin the monkey heard his friends calling him from an early tree. "Marvin, do you want to come and play with us?" they shouted. "Not right now," he answered. "I'm feeling kind of tired." Marvin watched the happy monkeys playing in the tall tree branches and sighed. He could only shake his head and walk away. Marvin couldn't admit to the other monkeys that he was afraid of heights. If only there were some way to get over my fear, he thought to himself. Soon, Marvin came across George the giraffe. "Hey, Marvin, what's wrong?" George asked. "All my friends love to swing and play up in the trees, but I'm afraid of heights," Marvin said. The giraffe took a bite of yummy green leaves. "I think I can help," George sputtered. "Why don't you try climbing into my back? Taking your time will build your confidence," suggested George. Marvin agreed to try George's idea. He was nervous but determined not to give up until he had conquered his fears. He gingerly hoisted himself onto the giraffe. The higher Marvin got, the more confident he began to feel. "I think I'm ready to climb the trees now," he said to George. "That's great," answered the happy giraffe. Marvin and George played with other monkeys for the rest of the afternoon. From then on, Marvin always remembered that with practice and patience, he could learn to do anything. Very good buddies. Kim was a very hungry blue dinosaur. She looked up in the trees at the sweet-smelling berries and let out a sigh. "If only I was tall enough to reach those berries," she thought. Kim jumped onto a rock and tried to climb to the tree. Kim jumped onto a rock and tried to climb the tree trunk, but her legs were just too short. She tried jumping up and down to reach the tree branch, but she couldn't get anywhere near the berries. Just when Kim was ready to give up, a long yellow neck stretched over the tree branch. "Those berries look pretty tasty, don't they?" said Rupert, a friendly yellow dinosaur. "They sure do," answered Kim, "but I'm just too small to reach them." Rupert stretched his neck up to the leaves, and soon his head disappeared out of the sight. "Look," said Rupert with a big juicy bunch of berries clenched between his teeth. "Yippee! What beautiful berries!" exclaimed Kim. As she sat down to enjoy her sweet treat, Rupert noticed some delicious-looking leaves on the ground. He tried to bend down and pick the leaves with his teeth, but his body was just too big, and his neck was far too long. Kim looked up from her lunch and noticed the struggling dinosaur. His neck was getting tangled, and he looked very uncomfortable. She decided to help him out. Kim carefully picked the leaves for Rupert with her teeny teeth. She made a pile beside her friends that began to get bigger and bigger and easier for the large dinosaur to reach. Once Rupert realized what she was doing, he headed back to the berry tree and picked more bunches of sweet fruit. The two friends spent the rest of the afternoon enjoying a great feast. Shy Pete saves the day. Shy Pete Pelican was hungry. "I wonder what kind of fish I will catch today," he thought to himself. "I'm going to use my big bill to scoop my lunch right out of the water," he decided. Just then, Frida Frog hopped onto her lily pad. "That's one bizarre-looking bill. It's not very pretty, isn't it? Why is it so big?" she asked. Shy Pete wanted to reply, but he was too embarrassed to say anything. Frida was suddenly startled by the sound of flapping wings. Oh no, do you see that hungry stork? Storks absolutely love to eat frogs. Please, oh please, you have to help me bathe, cried Frida. Quick, hop over to shore and hide in my flower patch, the shy pelican swiftly suggested. Frida made a dash for the flowers and disappeared into the petal just as the stork flew above them. It is safe to come out now, said Shy Pete after the stork had flown off the side. Frida hopped out of the flowers and back to her lily pad. She let out a big sigh of relief, but the pelican has spoken too soon. The stork is coming back. I see him right above those trees. Pete yelled to Frida. Where I can hide? Asked Frida, quickly jumping on my bill. You're safe there, urged Pete. Frida leaped into the air and landed safely in Pete's big bill. Once the stork had finally passed, Frida hopped back to her lily pad. Thank you for saving me, said Frida kindly. Pete smiled. You're welcome, he said. I'm sorry for making fun of your bill earlier. Frida added, I'm glad you saw past my bill. Pete replied, otherwise we might have missed the chance to become great friends. Rita laughs last. Rita the cheeky rhinoceros loved to play pranks on her friends. One of her favorite tricks was to leave a banana peel out of her friend Tilly, the tiger, to sleep on. She laughed and laughed and never apologized after she played a prank. One day, Rita's father took her aside. You have to stop playing pranks on your friends. It might seem funny to you now, but eventually you're going to hurt someone's feelings, he said. Rita didn't want to listen to her dad. Sure, Daddy, she answered casually. Later that day, Rita was itching to play another prank. She spotted some rotten eggs in a nest above Lenny's the lizard's path. Rita heard the father's voice in her head, but she couldn't resist. Plop, plop, plop went the eggs as they landed messily on poor Lenny. When Lenny realized that his friend had done, he was furious. His shiny scales were dripping with sticky yellow yolk. That wasn't funny, Rita, he shouted, but the little rhino was rolling up about on a fit of giggles. Tilly and Lenny agreed that the only way to make Rita stop pulling pranks was to play one on her. The two friends came across a murky mud puddle, which they carefully covered over with leaves. Then they waited patiently behind a tree for Rita to walk by. Help! Rita cried out with fright as she slipped through the pile and leaves that landed on the slimy puddle. When she looked up to see Tilly and Lenny walking towards her, Rita realized that her dad had been right. It's no fun to be tricked. Rita had finally learned her lesson. I'm sorry I played so many pranks on you. I promise never to do again, she said. Rita's friends knew she was really sorry, and from that day on, Rita, Tilly, and Lenny were the best of friends.